Hey, this is Mark Henry, author of Dancing with Energy, Healing, Magic, and Mysticism, here to talk to you more about the occult and the paranormal. Well, today I'm going to be talking about the highly sensitive person in the occult world. So, just a kind of a reminder that I've just added some attunements to the Etsy store. In my Etsy store, I offer spiritual connections, attunements to various gods, goddesses, angels, spirits of all different types to help you level up your magic and improve your life. I've recently added Saint Dymphna, so if you need any type of support from her on with mental distress and nervous conditions, she's your gal. I've also added Genius Psychic Power, which if you are interested in opening your third eye, increasing your intuition, enhancing your divination, all those types of activities are under the spirits. And the cool thing about the Genius spirits is that each of the attunements has an attunement to multiple spirits inside. So for example, the Genius Psychic Powers, you have an attunement to 6 spirits to help you with all of that. But in any case, I don't want to talk too much about that, but I'll put a link in the description for those people who are interested in looking at all that. So let's get into today's topic. So HSP, highly sensitive people in the occult world. So what actually is an HSP, highly sensitive person? Well, this concept is not new. It's been around since the early 90s. It became popular in 1996 with Elaine Aronson's book, The Highly Sensitive Person. And she kind of outlined the research that was done up to that point. She is a psychologist and started to notice things and to kind of share with the world what she was discovering. And since that time, more research has come out and has validated this sort of thing. So what actually is HSP? So highly sensitive person, it is somebody who internally they have more of a sensitivity. They're more easily stimulated through interacting with their environment, people, that sort of thing. So what might be for the average person mildly stimulating might be moderately or highly stimulating to the HSP. And by the way, nowadays, I think that the HSP label's probably getting to be less common now. It is called sensory processing sensitivity. And according to what I was looking into, it is a form of neurodivergence. It is not a disorder per se, but is more like if you think of like an enduring pattern or an enduring predilection inside of you, like a personality characteristic, something that is fairly hardwired. Like it's not something these people can necessarily change. Of course, if the sensitivities in people, if there are a result of lack of coping skills, which this necessarily, usually isn't, then that can be worked with. But this is just sort of like, this is these people's baseline. So with sensory processing sensitivity, it could manifest in a couple ways. One is that these people who, I believe the research says that they're generally introverts for the most part, they can become overstimulated. They are absorbing their environments. They are taking in more information than, let's say, the average person, or at least that's what it seems. And their sensitivity is, that's coming in contact with that. So they can become overstimulated socially or at other type of, could be at work or different types of relationships. There is a lot of self-care that goes along with being a highly sensitive person. There are, just like in everything, there's a downside and an upside. One of the downside is that these people who have this, either earlier in life or they may get through it, but one of the challenges are things like poor boundaries. Because they can take in a lot of information from the environment, they could easily be hooked up into getting involved in other people's messes and taking a lot of that negativity and stuff inside of them, and that becoming a part of them and not necessarily being able to detach from it. So that's a skill that a lot of them have to learn, especially if they are involved in some of the things that we talk about in the channel. So if you are taking a lot of that information either from, you think of it as connecting with people or your environment, at some point the person may need to learn shielding exercises, protection, that sort of things, taking spiritual baths in order to get rid of that. That might be kind of part of their own spiritual self-care program. So what else do they get involved in? Before I forget, this is not, I wouldn't say this is very rare. This, according to the research, represents 20 to 30% of the population. So if you yourself are not a highly sensitive person, which I would suspect that most people who are involved in psychic work, energy work, that sort of thing probably are, but they represent 20-30% of the population. So it isn't, very rare, but if you're not one of them, you might know somebody who is. I think people that aren't able to kind of deal with it or have trauma and stuff, you can probably see it show up as a personality characteristic in other types of mental health conditions. So since we're talking about all this, how does this relate to the occult? Because this is an occult channel. Well, one, and this is going to be kind of the positive side of all this, is that the highly sensitive person is going to be the person who can be more likely to have a leg up on certain type of occult activities. They may naturally be able to take in, again, more information from reality. They may be able to be a little bit, they can detect subtle signals from spirits or detect cues from people to help them read them more than, let's say, the average person can. The highly sensitive person also, they might be good at things like energy work. A lot of times with Reiki and chakra balancing and other types of things, that it requires the ability to detect subtle signals, the ability to know when there's an imbalance in order to correct it. As far as astrology is concerned, there is a cognitive element to it. There is knowing the planets and the configurations and what's supposed to be happening. There's also those that can actually feel the light signals from these planetary alignments and how they affect, mood and the interior parts of yourself. It's a highly sensitive person, probably more likely to be able to experience that and be aware of it. So that is its good thing and maybe a bad thing, depending on how you kind of look at it and how sensitive you are. Clairsentience, the ability to be able to feel things on a psychic level, to be able to feel reality and to maybe detect, to uncover knowledge and truth. That tends to be something that somebody with highly sensitive person can experience, clairsentience. But not just that, but I suspect that clairsentience would be the psychic ability that would be probably more prevalent in that. Again, reading people. There are people walking around who sometimes they lack self-awareness. They lack the ability to, or maybe they haven't learned yet certain parts of themselves and what's happening. And the HSP person a lot of times can feel these subtle signals that the person may not be aware of. So they're good at reading people. The challenge, again, the downside is that an HSP could be somebody who gets overwhelmed by all of this. They might even be a pushover in certain respects because of all the information and everything that's going at them. I suspect that they would be easily manipulated if they don't, again, learn good boundaries and be able to fight the onslaught of the things that's coming at them emotionally and mentally from other people. Because they might be like, well, man, this, whatever, you know, just let me satisfy this person so I don't have to keep feeling this and experiencing this from them. So, does this describe you? Someone that you know? This is just surface level type of stuff. Again, the highly sensitive person probably would have the good characteristic, good qualities in order to be a psychic. Maybe even a professional psychic. So you might even look at, you know, somebody who has this characteristic when you're looking for readings, because they're kind of almost like they're naturally wired for a lot of this. All right, I'm interested in the comments, so please leave a comment. Let me know if you know somebody or yourself or highly sensitive person or sensory processing sensitivity, and maybe how that affects you, or do you find that it makes it easier to do psychic work or other type of activities. Let me know. Please subscribe and like, and I'll put a link in the description to the Etsy attunements in the store. All right, well, I will talk to you in a future video. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you later.